Life is a journey, and it is one that we all walk, each carrying our own burdens, our own hopes, and our own dreams. Sometimes the path seems clear, bathed in light and filled with promise. Other times, it is shadowed by doubt, burdened with pain, or veiled in confusion. We all know what it feels like to struggle, to question, to wonder if the weight of it all will ever ease. The feelings of weariness and sadness, the uncertainty about tomorrow, and the ache of the heart can be overwhelming. In those moments, it's easy to feel alone, as if no one truly understands what we're going through. You might look around and wonder why others seem to have it all together while you feel like you're falling apart. Or maybe you question God's presence, wondering if He sees your struggles, if He hears your cries. These are common feelings that anyone who has ever walked this life knows. But what if I told you that you are not as alone as you think? That in the depths of your pain, you are held by the one who created you, the one who knows you better than anyone else? You see, the human experience is one of both joy and suffering. No one is exempt from the struggles of life. We all face moments when the road ahead seems impossible, when the burdens we carry feel too heavy to bear. But the beauty of the Christian faith is that we don't face these struggles alone. God is with us in the highs and the lows, in the triumphs and in the trials. His presence is constant, and His love for us is unshakable. And even when we cannot feel it, even when we cannot see it, He is working in our lives, bringing purpose to our pain. It's easy to wonder why we go through difficult times. We often ask, why me? Why now? But what if these struggles are not just random events? What if they are moments of growth, moments when God is drawing us closer to Him? When we face hardship, we are given the opportunity to trust more deeply, to surrender more fully, and to experience the comforting embrace of God's presence in a way we may not have known before. The Apostle Paul speaks to this in Romans 5 verses 3-5, where he says, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit, who has been given to us." There is something sacred about suffering. It is not the end of our story, but a part of the process that leads us to greater strength, greater resilience, and deeper hope. It is in the refining fire that our faith is tested, shaped, and strengthened. You may not see it now, but every struggle you face has the potential to bring you closer to the person God created you to be. It may not feel like it, and it may not make sense in the moment, but God is working in the background of your life, even when the way forward seems unclear. His love is active, not passive. He is not a distant observer of your life, but an active participant, guiding you through every trial and offering you His unending grace. There is another important truth to remember. God does not promise to take away our struggles, but He does promise to be with us through them. In Isaiah 41 verse 10, God reassures us, saying, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." God's promise is not that life will be easy, but that He will be with us every step of the way. He will give us the strength to endure and the peace to rest in His presence. When you are weary, when your heart is heavy, when you feel like the world is too much to bear, remember that God sees you. He knows your pain, your doubts, your fears. And He is with you, offering comfort, hope, and love. You are never alone in your struggles. God is there, waiting for you to turn to Him, to seek His peace, and to trust that He has a plan for your life. A plan that is filled with purpose, hope, and love. So take a deep breath and know that even in your darkest moments there is light. The light of God's presence, the light of His love, the light that will guide you through the darkest valleys. No matter what you face today, no matter what challenges lie ahead, know that God is bigger than your struggles. He is greater than your fears, and His love will never fail you. Hold on to that truth. Hold on to hope, for the journey is not over, and with God, the best is yet to come. The road may be difficult at times, but you are not walking it alone. God is walking beside you, carrying you, and filling you with His peace. Keep trusting, keep believing, and keep moving forward. Because even in your weakest moments, God's strength is more than enough to carry you through. He is with you always, and His love will never fail. There are days when the weight of life feels almost unbearable. We feel tired, not just in our bodies, but in our spirits. Our hearts are heavy, burdened with worries that seem to grow larger with each passing day. Maybe you're facing challenges that feel too big to overcome. Perhaps you're experiencing the pain of loss, the uncertainty of the future, or the ache of unmet dreams. And in those moments, it's easy to wonder, why is this happening? What's the purpose in all of this suffering? It's in these times of struggle that we begin to search for answers. We wonder if there's meaning behind the pain, if there's something we can learn or gain from what we're going through. Sometimes we may feel as though God is silent, that our prayers go unanswered, or that He has somehow forgotten us. But even in our darkest moments, even when we cannot see it, God is always working. And He has a purpose for your life, a purpose that goes beyond what you can understand right now. The truth is, we live in a world where pain and suffering are part of the human experience. Jesus Himself promised that we would face difficulties in this life. He said in John 16 verse 33, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world." These words are not meant to discourage us, but to remind us that while life on earth is often filled with hardship, we are never left to face it alone. Christ has already overcome the world, and in Him we find our strength, our hope, and our purpose. It's easy to forget this when we're in the midst of our struggles, isn't it? When the pain feels too raw and the confusion seems endless, it's hard to see the bigger picture. But it is precisely in these moments, when everything feels broken, that God is at work in ways we may never fully comprehend. He uses our suffering to shape us, to refine us, and to draw us closer to Him. In the book of James, we're reminded of this truth. "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." James 1 verses 2 to 4. This verse seems counterintuitive at first, doesn't it? How can we consider trials to be a joy? But what James is saying is that God uses the struggles we face to build something beautiful in us. Perseverance, maturity, and a deeper faith. The trials of life are not in vain, they have a purpose. And even more importantly, we are not left to face these trials alone. God is with us every step of the way. He walks beside us in the midst of our pain, offering us His comfort, His peace, and His love. Psalm 34 verse 18 reminds us that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. When we are hurting, God is not distant. He is near, holding us in His arms and carrying us through the hardest moments of our lives. He understands our pain, and He is there to comfort us in ways that no one else can. In times of struggle, it can be tempting to believe that we are forgotten, that God is far away or too busy to care. But this is simply not true. The God who created the universe, who knows the stars by name, is also the God who knows you intimately. He knows your fears, your hopes, your pain, and your joys. He is aware of every tear you shed, every moment of doubt, and every longing of your heart. And He is here, ready to provide you with the strength, peace, and encouragement you need to carry on. Even when we don't understand why we're going through what we're going through, we can trust that God is in control. He sees the bigger picture, and He is working all things together for our good. Romans 8 verse 28 tells us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." This is a promise we can hold on to. No matter how difficult things may seem, God is at work, weaving His plan for our lives. And while we may not always see it right away, He is faithful to complete the good work He has started in us. When we are weary and worn out, it's easy to feel like we are alone in our struggles. But I want to remind you today that you are not alone. You may feel broken, but you are not abandoned. God is with you, and He is doing something beautiful in your life through every trial you face. He is shaping your character, deepening your faith, and drawing you closer to Him. You are not defined by your struggles. You are defined by His love for you. So take heart, dear friend. Your pain is not in vain. Your struggles have meaning, and your journey has a purpose. Even in the hardest moments, God is with you, and He is faithful. Hold on to hope, for the God who brought you this far will continue to guide you, sustain you, and carry you through to the other side. The best is yet to come. Sometimes, when the darkness feels overwhelming, we find ourselves asking, is this all there is? Will it always be like this? We get trapped in the cycle of our own struggles and begin to lose sight of the light that still shines, even in the shadows. When we're weighed down by the difficulties of life, it's easy to believe that there's no way out, that the road ahead is too steep, and that we are too tired to keep moving forward. But I want to remind you today that no matter how difficult things may seem, there is always hope. You may feel exhausted, you may feel like giving up, but in these moments, it's important to remember that you are not walking this journey alone. Even when the world feels like it's pressing in on you, God's hand is there, reaching out to guide you through. And the promise He has given you is not one of abandonment, but of presence. Jesus, in His love and compassion, knew exactly what it was like to feel alone in the midst of pain. He walked the path of suffering Himself, enduring unimaginable trials and heartache. He faced rejection, betrayal, and the weight of the world on His shoulders. Yet, in His final moments, when it seemed as though all hope was lost, He spoke words that still ring true today. "It is finished," John 19 verse 30. These words were not just a declaration of the end of His earthly life. They were a declaration of victory. Through His sacrifice, He conquered sin and death, offering us hope beyond our circumstances. When Jesus said, "It is finished," He was declaring that the power of sin and suffering had been broken. No longer do we have to carry the weight of our struggles on our own. No longer do we have to face the darkness and isolation. Through Christ, we are given a new perspective, a perspective that sees beyond our pain and into the greater purpose that God is unfolding. This doesn't mean that the challenges we face will simply disappear. Life is still hard and we will continue to encounter difficulties. But what it does mean is that we no longer have to face those difficulties alone. We can walk with the knowledge that God is with us, that He is working even in our pain, and that His plan for us is greater than we can comprehend in the moment. In 2 Corinthians 4 verses 16 to 18, the Apostle Paul offers a beautiful reminder: "Therefore we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." Paul understood that while life's troubles are real, they are not the whole story. What we experience on earth is temporary, but the glory that awaits us is eternal. The struggles you face today are not meaningless. They are part of a greater plan, a plan that is unfolding for your good and for God's glory. When you're feeling weary, when the weight of your burden seems too much to carry, remember that God is doing something profound in you. Every challenge, every trial, is an opportunity for you to grow closer to Him, to learn to trust Him more deeply, and to become more like the person He created you to be. In the midst of your pain, He is refining you, strengthening your faith, and preparing you for the future He has promised. This doesn't mean that you won't feel tired. You will. There will be days when the road ahead seems too long and the obstacles too great. But even in those moments, you are not without hope. The God who brought you this far will not leave you to struggle on your own. He is your strength when you are weak, your comfort when you are weary, and your peace when the storm rages around you. Isaiah 40 verses 29 to 31 offers a beautiful promise to those who are weary. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. This is the promise of God's sustaining power. When you feel weak, He will give you the strength to keep going. When you feel like you can't go on, He will lift you up and carry you through. Hope is not just wishful thinking. It's a confident assurance that God is with you, that He is working on your behalf, and that His plans for you are good. It's the knowledge that no matter what you face, God's love will never fail you. His promises are sure, and His faithfulness endures forever. The road may be difficult, but with Him, you will find the strength to keep moving forward, step by step. As you face the challenges of today, hold on to the truth that God is with you. When you are weary, He will renew your strength. When you are uncertain, He will guide you. And when you feel like giving up, He will be there to lift you up. Keep your eyes fixed on Him and trust that, in the end, His victory is yours. No matter how hard it gets, you are not alone. He is with you and He will carry you through. The best is yet to come. In the midst of all our struggles, it's easy to feel as though our lives are defined by the hardships we face. We can become so focused on the challenges that it seems like they are the only thing that matters. We begin to wonder, is this all there is? Is this how my life will always be? But today I want to remind you that your struggles do not define you. You are not your pain, you are not your disappointments, and you are not your failures. You are defined by something much greater, the love and purpose that God has for you. When we look to the world for meaning and answers, it's easy to get lost. The world tells us that we must succeed, that we must have it all together, and that if we fall short, we are somehow less than. But the truth is, God's definition of who we are is not based on our achievements or the approval of others. It is rooted in His love and the incredible worth He sees in each of us. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus speaks to our deepest need for reassurance. He tells us, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11 verse 28. These words are not just a gentle invitation, they are a promise. Jesus is offering us rest, not from our physical labor alone, but from the emotional and spiritual burdens that weigh us down. When we feel tired, when we feel defeated, when we feel like we've reached the end of our rope, Jesus is there waiting for us to bring our burdens to Him. And He promises that He will give us rest. This rest is not simply a temporary escape. It's a deep, soul-level peace that transcends our circumstances. It's the peace that comes from knowing that we are loved by the Creator of the universe, that we are not alone in our struggles, and that there is a purpose in everything we face. It's the peace that comes from surrendering our fears and our worries into God's hands, trusting that He will take care of us. But rest also comes through perspective. It's easy to get caught up in the difficulties of the present moment and lose sight of the bigger picture. But God's perspective is far broader than our own. He sees the entire story, the full arc of our lives, and He knows exactly how each piece fits together. What may seem like a setback today could be the very thing that prepares you for something greater tomorrow. What feels like an obstacle could be an opportunity for growth, refinement, and transformation. In the book of Isaiah, God promises that He will strengthen us when we are weak and give us the endurance we need to press on. Isaiah 40 verse 31 says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." This verse speaks to the incredible power that comes from placing our hope in God. It is through Him that we find the strength to keep going, even when we feel like we can't take another step. And when we put our hope in Him, He promises that we will soar, that we will rise above our circumstances and find the strength we need to continue on the journey. The beauty of this promise is that it's not dependent on our own strength. It's not about how strong we are or how capable we feel. It's about surrendering to God and allowing His power to flow through us. It's about acknowledging that we can't do it on our own, but that with Him, we are more than conquerors. When we face trials and struggles, we often feel as though we are walking through life on our own, carrying our burdens alone. But that is never the case. God is with us, and He is constantly working behind the scenes to bring good out of even the most difficult situations. You may not see it in the moment, but God is always at work, weaving a story of redemption and hope that is far greater than anything we can imagine. In the story of Joseph, we see a powerful example of this truth. Joseph faced betrayal, imprisonment, and years of hardship. But through it all, God was with him, guiding him, preparing him for the future. And in the end, Joseph was able to look back and say to his brothers who had wronged him, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Genesis 50 verse 20. This is the kind of God we serve. A God who can take our pain, our struggles, and our failures and use them for His greater purpose. The hardships we face are not wasted. They are part of a bigger story that God is writing. And when we surrender our lives to Him, He will use every part of us, the good, the bad, and the broken, to bring about His kingdom on earth. It's in the midst of our pain that we often grow the most. It's when we are weak that God's strength is most apparent. And it's in our brokenness that we find the greatest healing. So, if you are struggling today, I want to encourage you. Don't lose heart. Your pain is not in vain. Your story is not finished. God is still writing it, and the best chapters are yet to come. You may not understand why you're going through what you're going through, but you can trust that God does. And you can trust that He is working all things together for your good. He sees the end from the beginning, and He knows exactly what you need when you need it. His timing is perfect and His plan is flawless. So take a moment to breathe, to rest in His love, and to surrender your burdens to Him. He is with you, He loves you, and He will never leave you. You are not alone. You are held in His hands, and He is guiding you to a place of peace, strength, and purpose. Keep walking one step at a time, and know that with each step, you are drawing closer to the fulfillment of His beautiful plan for your life. As we come to the final part of this journey, I want to remind you that no matter where you are right now, there is always hope for the future. Life is full of seasons. Some are filled with joy and peace, while others are marked by hardship and struggle. But no matter the season, there is one truth that remains constant. God is faithful, and He is with you through it all. The road may be long and the obstacles may seem insurmountable, but the promise of God's presence is unwavering. He has walked with his people through every trial, every difficulty, and every heartache, and he promises that he will never leave you. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. Even in the darkest moments, he is with you, holding you, comforting you, and guiding you. You might still feel like the weight of your burdens is too much to bear. You may feel like you've tried everything and nothing seems to change. But in these moments, I want you to remember that God's timing is perfect. It might not always align with our own desires or expectations, but he is working in ways we cannot see. The challenges you face today are not the end of the story. They are a part of the process, a process that is shaping you into the person God has created you to be. God is always at work even when we can't see it. The Bible tells us in Philippians 1 verse 6, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. This is an incredible promise. God is not finished with you. No matter where you find yourself today, he is still at work in your life, and he will complete the work he has started. Sometimes it's hard to trust that there is a purpose in our pain. It's difficult to see how anything good can come from the struggles we endure. But remember, God is the ultimate redeemer. He can take our brokenness and turn it into something beautiful. He can take our deepest wounds and use them to bring healing, not only to ourselves but to others as well. Jesus himself demonstrated this to us on the cross. In his greatest moment of suffering, he was accomplishing the greatest work of all, the redemption of the world. What seemed like defeat was actually the greatest victory. Through his sacrifice, we have the hope of eternal life, the assurance that no matter what we face in this life, we are never alone and that we have a future filled with peace, joy, and purpose. So, even in the midst of your struggles, hold fast to the hope you have in Christ. Your pain is not the end. Your difficulties are not the end. There is a future ahead of you, and it is filled with God's promises. It is filled with his faithfulness, his love, and his grace. And no matter how long the journey may seem, he will see you through to the end. You are not defined by your pain. You are not defined by your failures. You are not defined by your struggles. You are defined by God's love for you. And his love is greater than anything this world can throw your way. As we conclude this time together, I want to leave you with this. Take a moment to reflect on the truth that you are deeply loved. You are not alone in this. God is with you and he will never leave you or forsake you. Trust that he is working all things together for your good. Keep walking step by step, with the knowledge that you are being carried by a love that is unfailing and eternal. And in the end, you will look back and see how every moment, every struggle, every tear was part of the beautiful story God is writing for you. The best is yet to come. Hold on to hope, for God is faithful and he will see you through.